Hello, my name is Osha. I like talking about American presidents, and today is March the 1st, 2026. I've normally stopped watching the news because, one, I'm focused on getting my freedom, clearing my reputation against the malicious prosecution superintended by a corrupt judge in Montgomery County, Maryland. That's Judge James Bonifant. And of course, in order to obstruct justice, I'm not going to discuss that now, but I did see the news, and of course, I'm like every American citizen or in global citizen. I'm very concerned. I hope we don't, the situation with the decapitation of the leadership of, the Iranian leadership. I hope situation doesn't escalate into a third world war. Something. So I saw that there was a killing, and the assailant has been killed, and he was a Senegalese naturalized citizen, right? And for me, it was very concerning and disappointing because typically you don't see situations where African naturalized citizens or African citizens or Africans in America anywhere commit acts of terrorism against the nation that welcomed them, right? America is a very welcoming nation. It's an open nation. Since 9/11, things changed, and even with that, we're still quite open. It's America's become a surveillance state, right? And of course, this assailant, I don't know why he did it. I don't know why um, he went on the rampage in Texas. But from sources, what I learned in the news, it said it was supposed to have been a reaction to the assassination and the assassination of the Iranian Ayatollah leader, supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed yesterday by the combined attack strikes by the United States and Israeli forces. Um, so what I just wanted to do was, talk a little bit about wars because I'm a historian. Interestingly, I did military history. I read a lot about military strategy, and including having read the methods, the styles of Mao Zedong, the Chinese Revolutionary Army versus Chiang Kai-shek's National Army during the 9 year Revolutionary War and Great Trek, as they called it in China, and several, read a lot about Vietnam, uh, America's the undeclared war, the of Vietnam, how long, and the casualties sustained by American forces. So there is something called asymmetrical warfare, or and also irregular warfare. So that's guerrilla. When your opponent is using guerrilla tactics and they're not fight meeting you on the battlefield. In combat. In regular combat, as you expect, just using forces and your arms. So typically, this is expected. A force that has um, superior arms, right? Superior weaponry. Well, they can't expect the adversary that knows that in contrast, they have inferior arms or manpower, or to face their adversary, in the regular battlefield. Well, you have to. So I expect generals, intelligence on the U.S. side should have anticipated that the reaction of an intelligent adversary, and that's the thing about fighting as well. You can't assume that your adversary is stupid, right? You've got to be able to. Great generals think of many steps, and you have to. You, you will be. You will succeed if you don't underestimate your adversary, right? You don't think that they're stupid, that they're not thinking. So America knows it has superior forces, right? Superior arms. But if you have a determined opponent, right? What is it that they can use against you? They're not going to fight in the regular manner with you. That would be suicidal, right? So an intelligent combatant should know that there are going to be alternative. There are going to be alternative other ways that an intelligent adversary is going to use against them, right? They're not obligated to to use the regular mode of combat with you, so that it will be convenient for you with the superior arms to defeat them. No, especially now, America has changed a lot of things, right? There's an international law, agreement in international law, that there will be no political assassinations of heads, right? It doesn't matter how terrible the head is, right? That's international law. You don't, where again, America, we devised the rules-based order. We led it, we championed it, right? America is the headquarters of, the home of the rules-based international order, United Nations. It's headquartered in New York. No political assassinations, no attempts of regime change. That's what we just did yesterday. You know, where we're appearing needlessly bloodthirsty. Again, we have the most powerful military in the world. Maybe that's one way for us to remain the dominant power and not to let our adversaries rise, and match us, because that's one thing that we have going more than anywhere else in the world, our military might. And do we want to maintain it? That's one, realpolitik. I've done a video talking about realpolitik, right? It's a cynical way to achieve, your national interest, right? Without um, unilaterally, you assess what it is that you want to, what the nation wants to achieve, what it has, and it will take the pragmatic steps to accomplish that end, right? So America wants to destroy Iran's. America doesn't want to give Iran the opportunity to acquire nuclear arms, right? So that it become, it. America wants to maintain a certain balance of power. That's what we used to call it, a balance of power. And so America has the capacity to eliminate uh, the head of the Iranian government, and it just did, right? By the execution of its supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. But that's just, they have a system, if you decapitate its head and then somebody else continues, and their policy, their government continues, what have you accomplished? Right? They haven't accomplished more. But the other thing is the risk, the costs of executing that regime change or going to war with Iran, right? That we know does not have the sort of military might capacity that we have, right? Um, America should be aware that, well, a nation that, we've said, okay, has been a breeding ground of, they've been sponsors of state terrorism and terrorists. Terrorists don't fight you the regular way. Terrorists attack the citizens of their opponents, right? Are Americans supposed to now be imprisoned in their own nation? Are we just going to sit down in our nation and we can't travel anymore? Because this is now something Americans risk, right? Attacks, kidnappings, if they go up abroad, if they go anywhere, they could be killed, they could be, these are random killings. Eventually these random killings will eventually overwhelm, it will cause disaffection in the nation, and public opinion will be affected, right? Public opinion might turn against the government. That's the challenge. Now, people in America, because we don't, oh my God, those that's the challenge. The challenge that um, Americans, regular citizens who are just minding their business, they're not interested in war. They don't know what the government is doing in other countries. They want to take a vacation and then they become attacked, subject to kidnappings, killings, and things like that. That's the challenge, right? But Americans are now supposed to be imprisoned in their own homeland, in their country. That's the challenge. You don't know the alternative ways that can now we need to be able to remember what happened in Vietnam, right? Vietnam, we went with a superior force, and something else happened. Something else happened. Vietnam is not so far away that we can't remember the fallout, the blowback of Vietnam, right? Um, yeah. Well, the news is just like there's nothing good goes on in the news anymore. I just thought I should mention, just talk a little bit about this. Um, because the other thing is when America now gets in the business of attacking heads, sitting heads of states, engaged in the business of political assassinations, it makes our leaders vulnerable as foreign targets. Does that mean our presidents will never travel again? What about when they're no longer president? What are our past presidents and their families, right? These are things that the government has, our military has to consider. Our military has to consider the whole picture, alternatives. Our presidents and their family and people associated with them, are they going to just sit down and never travel abroad again, never go overseas? Even here from the killing that happened just today in Texas, we see that even in America, that there are these random acts, but all of these will tend to now undermine the essence of what we are as Americans. We're an open society. We're a free society that cherishes liberty, right? We cherish liberty. We value our liberties, you know. Anyway, that's just my topics, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you.